Welcome back, you curious minds, to another deep dive. It's fantastic to have you with us again.
Great to be back.
Today we're tackling a topic that's likely crossed everyone's mind. Getting rich. But we're not looking at fleeting trends or, hoping for a lucky break.
No, definitely not.
We're plunging into a book from way back in 1910 that still sparks a lot of discussion. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
That's right. And you really need to forget the modern quick fix guides for this one. Wattles lays out what he claims is a systematic, almost formulaic approach.
Right, like a science.
Exactly. And it's rooted in some pretty deep philosophical ideas. You might even see echoes of thinkers like Hegel and Emerson in his work. It's a really interesting mix,
Yeah.
Practical advice and this unique way of looking at the world.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our goal today is to go through Wattles' core argument, like chapter by chapter.
Yeah, really dig in.
We want to really understand his philosophy of abundance, the framework he proposes, and the actual steps he says we need to take.
And what to embrace, what to avoid.
Yes. We'll highlight what he believes we should learn and embrace, and what we should actively avoid if we want to get rich, according to his science. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding these century-old principles.
And maybe seeing how they could apply to your own life.
Exactly.
And it's important to remember, Wattles himself wanted this to be clear and simple. He wrote it so anyone could understand.
So the language might sound a bit old-fashioned sometimes.
Maybe a little, but the core ideas are meant to be pretty straightforward. He was absolutely convinced his method worked and, had been proven in practice.
Okay, so let's dive in then. Starting with his very bold claim in Chapter 1, the right to be rich.
Yes, he really doesn't hold back.
No kidding. He immediately challenges this idea that somehow it's noble or virtuous to be satisfied with very little.
He argues the whole point of nature is like the expansion of life, advancement.
So everyone should have access to whatever contributes to a life filled with power, elegance, beauty, and, richness.
He even goes as far as to say that if you're capable of enjoying more, being content with less is actually sinful.
Wow. That's a pretty strong opening statement.
It is, isn't it? And it really reframes how you might think about ambition. He clarifies that being really rich isn't just about having extra cash.
It's more holistic.
Yeah, it's about having everything you need to live the absolute fullest life you're capable of living.
He then breaks it down, right, into these three fundamental aspects of human life: body, mind, and soul.
Exactly. And crucially, Wattles insists that none of these is more important than the others. They all deserve to be fully expressed for us to have a truly complete life.
Okay, so how does material wealth fit in?
Well, this is where the connection comes in. He argues that having and using material things is actually essential for the full development of each of those areas.
So you need resources for your health, for learning, for expressing your soul.
Precisely. You need resources for physical well-being, to pursue knowledge, intellectual growth, and to express your soul through things like creativity, generosity, stuff like that.
Which leads him to a conclusion that might surprise some people.
That wanting to be rich isn't just okay.
It's perfectly right, like a totally normal, natural human desire.
He even elevates the study of getting rich to being the noblest and most necessary of all studies. Almost an obligation.
An obligation to who?
To yourself, to God, or whatever higher power you conceive of, and even to humanity. Because when you reach your full potential, you naturally have more to offer the world.
So the desire for wealth, in his view, is actually tied to our overall growth and contribution. It's not just selfish.
That's a key shift in perspective right there. Which brings us to Chapter 2. There is a science of getting rich.
Right, where he really doubles down on this idea of a system.
Yeah, he claims getting rich isn't about luck or even just raw hard work. It's an exact science, just like math, like algebra or arithmetic.
So there are specific laws.
Certain laws governing how wealth is acquired, and if you understand and consistently follow these laws, well, becoming rich is predictable. Almost a certainty, he says.
It's a bold claim, for sure. And he emphasizes it's about doing things in a certain way.
He observes that some people, whether they realize it or not, operate according to this certain way and get wealthy.
While others, even if they work incredibly hard and are talented,
remain poor because they haven't grasped this specific method.
And it's not about being smarter or having some unique skill?
No, he makes that clear. It's not about outsmarting everyone or having extraordinary talent. He points out you can find two people in the same business doing almost the same things.
Yet one gets rich, the other doesn't.
Exactly. And that difference, he argues, comes down to whether they're operating according to this certain way.
What about things like, where you live, your environment?
He touches on that. He admits those factors play a minor role, like you need people to deal with certain businesses fit certain places better.
But fundamentally.
Fundamentally, getting rich depends on learning and applying this certain way. He's quite optimistic, actually. He suggests anyone smart enough to read and understand his words can become rich.
So it's about the principles, not your starting point.
Exactly. And that leads us nicely into Chapter 3, is opportunity monopolized.
Ah, yeah. This feels relevant even today, doesn't it? The feeling that maybe all the good chances are already taken.
Right, that the wealthy have sort of locked things up. He strongly disagrees with this.
He argues no one is kept poor just because opportunity is monopolized.
Correct. While he acknowledges that breaking into established industries might be tough, he uses the example of the big railroad companies back then.
Okay.
He points out that new avenues, new opportunities for wealth creation are always opening up. He even mentions things like electric railways, which were new then, and the future potential of air travel.
So look for the new waves.
Kind of. He advises paying attention to the current tide of opportunity. Back then, he thought it was flowing towards agriculture and related stuff. His advice is practical. Go with the flow, align yourself where the potential is, don't swim against the current.
What about the idea that, workers are held down by big companies or trusts?
He tackles that too. While acknowledging the economic realities, he suggests that, as a group, people might be where they are because they haven't adopted this certain way.
But individuals can rise above it?
He believes so, yes. He's optimistic about individual potential.
And this is a really crucial point he makes next, isn't it? About scarcity.
Oh, absolutely vital. He says poverty isn't actually due to a shortage of riches. There's more than enough for everyone.
He paints a picture of incredible abundance.
He really does. Vivid imagery, like building palaces for everyone, producing tons of resources. It's not about a limited pie that everyone's fighting over.
It's about accessing what's already there and what can be there.
Precisely. He distinguishes between the visible supply, which might look limited,
and the invisible supply,
which he later calls the formless stuff. And that, he claims, is absolutely inexhaustible. This belief underpins everything.
Okay, that's the setup for Chapter 4. First principle in the science of getting rich. This sounds foundational.
It really is. This is where the philosophical core comes into sharp focus. He introduces this concept of a formless stuff, or original substance.
The basis of everything.
Yes, the idea that everything ultimately comes from one single unifying source. It has roots in what philosophers call monism. Thinkers like Hegel, Emerson, they explored similar ideas.
And this formless stuff isn't just passive.
No, not at all. He describes it as intelligent. It thinks. And here's the kicker. A thought within this substance actually produces the thing that is thought about.
Whoa. Okay, so thought creates reality in a sense.
That's the core idea. It's very generative. And Wattles takes it a crucial step further.
Which is?
He suggests that we humans, by forming clear and definite thoughts, can impress these thoughts onto this intelligent, formless substance.
And that causes the thoughts to become real things, tangible.
It sets a process in motion, yes, causing those thoughts to take form and materialize in our physical world.
If you really believed that,
Yeah.
It would change everything. Less fear, less doubt.
According to Wattles, yes. It should eliminate doubt and fear, because it implies we have this inherent power to create what we want, get what we need, become who we envision. It shifts us from being passive to active creators.
So the first step to getting rich isn't about actions, it's about belief.
Absolutely. He concludes this chapter by saying the very first step is to wholeheartedly believe 3 key statements about this thinking substance and our thought power. He urges us, you, the listener, to dwell on these until they become habitual thought.
And reject opposing ideas.
Actively reject them. This
Yeah.
belief, this fundamental shift, is the bedrock of his whole science.
Belief is the starting point. Okay. Now, Chapter 5. Increasing life seems to build on this formless stuff idea.
It does. It delves deeper into its nature, emphasizing its inherent desire for the increase of life.
Like growth, expansion.
Exactly. He uses analogies from nature, a seed multiplying, consciousness expanding, to show this inherent drive towards more complete expression.
So the universe itself was created because this substance wanted to express itself more.
That's his argument. The universe of forms came about as this living substance sought fuller expression. Nature is geared towards life's advancement, and therefore, everything that supports life is provided abundantly.
So any feeling of lack or scarcity is, what, an illusion?
He suggests it's ultimately an illusion, yeah.
Yeah.
A contradiction to this fundamental universal principle.
Yeah.
This leads him to reframe common negative experiences.
Like poverty.
Poverty, he says, is just an appearance. The underlying reality is abundance. Same with disease, it's an appearance. The truer reality is health.
But holding on to that when things look bad, that takes effort.
Oh, definitely. He acknowledges it requires significant mental strength and focus, but he believes that by cultivating this mental power, we can become what he calls a mastermind.
A mastermind, capable of overcoming limitations.
Yes, capable of conquering fate, essentially. And the key to acquiring this power?
Let me guess. Understanding the thinking substance.
You got it. Firmly grasping that truth, the thinking substance as the origin, and that every thought held in it becomes a form. That understanding unlocks our creative potential.
Okay, the philosophy is getting clearer. So, Chapter 6, How Riches Come to You gets more specific about the process.
He clarifies something important here. Because the formless substance wants more life for everyone, it doesn't operate competitively.
Meaning it doesn't take from one person to give to another.
Exactly. Which reinforces his point about needing to shift away from that scarcity rivalrous mindset.
So no competitive thinking. Don't believe there's a limited supply.
He strongly advises against it. Instead, have faith that the resources you need will come, even if it requires new discoveries or innovations. Focus on the limitless potential of the formless stuff, not on fighting for what someone else has.
He uses examples, right, like worrying about building spots being taken.
Yeah, or fears about trusts monopolizing everything. His core message is, operate creatively. You are causing what you want to be created, not just trying to grab a piece of a finite pie.
It's a shift from competing to creating. Makes sense. Now, Chapter 7, Gratitude. This feels different, less strategic maybe.
It might seem that way, but Wattles argues it's absolutely crucial, a cornerstone of the whole process.
Gratitude. How does that work in getting rich?
He says that to receive, you must give. And the best way to give back to this formless substance, this source, is through sincere, heartfelt appreciation for what you have and for what's coming.
So a grateful mind stays connected to the source.
That's the idea. The more genuinely grateful you are for the good things, the more rapidly more good things will flow to you. Gratitude aligns your mental energy, your vibration, if you will, with the creative forces.
And it connects to faith, too.
Yes, he says gratitude is a powerful catalyst for faith. When you're truly grateful, you naturally expect more good things. That expectation becomes faith.
And a lack of gratitude hinders faith.
Which, as we've seen, is essential for this creative method. So gratitude isn't just a nice feeling, it's an active ingredient.
He even says be grateful for everything, even the tough stuff.
Sort of. Grateful for everything that contributes to your advancement. Even seemingly negative things, like how the world is organized, can inadvertently create opportunities if you look at it right. Gratitude helps you harmonize with the good in everything.
Wow. Finding the good, the opportunity everywhere, fueled by gratitude. That sets the stage for Chapter 8. Thinking in a certain way, I guess.
Absolutely. Now we get into the specifics of using thought effectively.
And the first key is?
A clear, definite mental picture of exactly what you want. No vague longings. He uses the analogy of planning a house you need details.
And this picture isn't just a one-off thing.
No, you have to hold it continually in mind, like a sailor focused on their destination port. Your thoughts, actions, words should all reflect it as if it's already real.
As if you already possess it.
Exactly. And this is where gratitude loops back in again.
Giving thanks for things you only have in your imagination.
Yes. He says sincerely doing that demonstrates real faith and actively sets the creative power into motion. It's like pre-appreciating the results.
Interesting. And he says you don't need to keep asking or praying for it.
Not repeatedly, no. Your part is to intelligently formulate the desire, create that coherent mental image, and impress it onto the formless substance with unwavering faith and purpose. Focused intention and belief, not endless begging.
Directing mental energy with clarity and conviction. Okay. Chapter 9. How to use the will. This sounds tricky.
It can be, and Wattles is very clear on the ethics here.
What's the big no-no?
Using your willpower on other people.
Yeah.
Trying to mentally force them to do what you want. He says that's morally wrong, like mental coercion.
So what is the right way to use will?
It's internal. Use your will to keep your own mind focused steadfastly on your mental image. Maintain that faith, that purpose, while also acting in the right way, which we'll get to more.
So willpower is for self-discipline, for focus.
Precisely. Steady faith and purpose make your impression on the formless substance stronger, more positive, less likely to be canceled out by negative or conflicting thoughts. It's about managing your internal state.
Okay, and Chapter X. Further use of the will builds on that mental discipline.
Yes, it emphasizes protecting that vision
How so?
by actively guarding your thoughts, consciously avoiding dwelling on opposing images, whether external things like poverty you see, or internal stuff like past failures or doubts.
He even advises against certain reading material.
Yes, steer clear of pessimistic or conflicting stuff, negative conversations about how bad the world is. Instead, focus on the positive, on the world becoming rich.
Seeing the world as improving, growing, abundant.
Exactly, and he makes a powerful point. By focusing on the riches the world is coming into, and by getting rich yourself creatively, you actually help the world more than by fighting over perceived limitations.
So focus on creation, expansion, not problems, which leads to Chapter 11, acting in the certain way, bridging thought and action.
This is pivotal. Wattles stresses thought alone, however powerful, isn't enough. Personal action must supplement it.
Thought starts things moving towards you, but you have to act to receive them.
You got it. Your thought impels things, your action receives them.
And he brings back that idea of use value.
Yes, give every person more in use value than you take in cash value. It aligns with that non-competitive, creative approach. Make your interactions win-win, contributing to overall increase.
And act now. Don't wait.
Act now. In your present job, your present environment. Don't wait for the perfect circumstances. Put your whole mind, your whole focus into present action.
Do all you can do each day efficiently.
And do each act efficiently by holding your vision, putting faith and purpose into it. Don't separate the mental power from the physical action. They have to work together.
Integrated. Two sides of the same coin, which fits with Chapter 12, efficient action, quality over quantity.
Pretty much. He argues it's not the number of actions, but the efficiency of each action that counts. Every act is either a success or a failure, effective or inefficient.
And inefficient acts lead to failure, no matter how busy you are.
Right. Success comes from doing a sufficient number of efficient acts.
And making each act efficient means
Infusing it with the power of your vision, your faith, your purpose, putting your whole self into it. He says many fail because they separate mind from action. They do the work physically, but their mind is elsewhere or full of doubt.
So bring full mental power to every single act.
And that makes the act successful. And successful actions are cumulative. They build on each other, attract more good things, multiply your influence.
Making every action count. Deliberately. Okay, practical question. Chapter 33. Getting into the right business. What if you feel stuck?
Good question. He acknowledges natural talents can make things easier in certain fields.
But you can get rich in any business.
He firmly believes so, yes. By developing the necessary talents and, crucially, applying the certain way consistently.
But doing what you want to do is better.
He suggests it's the most satisfying path, yeah. Because desire often indicates you have the inherent power for it.
So if you feel you're in the wrong job, don't just quit.
He advises against hasty action, especially if you're feeling doubtful. Often, growth within your current situation is the best way to open doors for change.
So improve where you are, stay open.
Exactly. Be open to sudden opportunities, but don't make radical moves out of desperation or doubt. Wait. Contemplate your vision. Cultivate gratitude for what you do have. The right path often clarifies through consistent application of the principles.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Chapter 14. The impression of increase. This is about how we interact with others.
It's key. He says everyone, fundamentally, is seeking increase, seeking betterment.
So in our interactions, we should project that.
We should convey the impression of increase. Make people feel that they will benefit, that they will gain something positive by associating with you.
Even in small transactions, like buying coffee.
Well, maybe less buying coffee, more in business dealings or services.
Sure.
Put the thought of increase into it. Ensure the customer feels they got more in use value than they gave in cash value. Create that win-win feeling.
And act with conviction.
Act with the firm conviction that you are advancing and that you are helping others advance too. Let your quiet assurance, your confidence in getting rich and offering value be felt by people.
That positive energy attracts people and opportunities, which connects to Chapter 15, the advancing person.
Exactly. He contrasts the competitive mind seeking power over others with the creative mind,
which seeks mastery of its own environment and destiny through creation.
Yes. And the advancing person, someone actively living these principles, radiates this power of purpose. Others sense the advancement, the increase around them.
And that's attractive.
Very attractive. It draws people and opportunities to you. He specifically encourages those feeling stuck in a dead-end job.
Saying if they become an advancing person,
Acting this certain way, a new, better opportunity will appear. It's like a natural law. God, or the universe, helps those who act according to these laws of increase.
embody the principles, attract the results. Okay, heading towards the end now. Chapter 6:6, some cautions and concluding observations, addressing doubts.
Yes, he knows many will scoff at a science of getting rich. People believe wealth is limited. Society needs fixing first.
But he says individual change comes first.
He argues societal change follows when enough individuals start thinking and acting in this certain way. Mass adoption shifts the collective.
What about worrying about future problems, bills, disasters?
Avoid it. Don't give anxious thought to potential future troubles. Trust that the necessary resources and solutions will be there when needed. Keep your focus on the vision and present action.
Guard your speech, too.
Strongly advised. Never speak in a discouraged or discouraging way. Never admit the possibility of failure, even to yourself. Think and speak of the world as becoming, always growing, always improving.
What if things do seem to fail?
Reframe it. Seeming failures are often just a sign you haven't asked for enough or aimed high enough. If you maintain faith, purpose, and gratitude, something even better will often come along.
And talents. What if you feel you lack them?
He reassures you you'll develop the necessary talents if you just follow his directions diligently. He also advises focusing solely on his book and optimistic stuff until you're rich.
Postpone digging into conflicting theories.
Yeah, avoid confusion until you got the foundation solid and are seeing results.
Okay, finally, Chapter 7. Summary of the science of getting rich. Boiling it all down.
He recaps the core principles. 1. A thinking substance creates all things based on thought.
2. Humans can impress their thoughts on this substance to create what they think about.
3. This requires moving from a competitive to a creative mindset.
4. Form a clear mental image, hold it with faith and purpose.
5. Relate to the Supreme, the Source, through deep and continuous gratitude.
6. Use leisure time to contemplate your vision and give thanks.
7. Act consistently in the certain way to receive what you envision.
And 8. Convey the impression of increase to everyone you interact with.
And he concludes by stating, quite plainly, that those who practice these instructions will certainly get rich.
And the amount of wealth depends on
The definiteness of their vision, the fixity of their purpose, the steadiness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. It's proportional.
Wow. Okay, let's take a breath and synthesize this deep dive into the science of getting rich.
It's a lot to take in. As you can hear, Wattles presents a really unique, maybe even unconventional framework.
Yeah, what really stands out is the emphasis on the internal world, isn't it? Mindset, visualization, faith.
And gratitude. The sheer power he attributes to gratitude is quite something. It's often underestimated.
It really challenges that conventional wisdom about scarcity, about needing to compete constantly. He suggests this whole other reality, almost.
A universe of abundance that actually responds to our thoughts and our aligned actions. And this idea of a certain way integrating how you think and how you act, that's so central.
Okay, so if we boil down his action plan for you, the listener, what does it look like?
Well, first, define your desires clearly. Really know what you want.
Second, create that vivid mental image of it already being yours and hold on to it with unwavering faith.
Third, cultivate deep, genuine gratitude now for what you have and what's coming.
Fourth, act efficiently and purposefully in your present situation, always holding that vision.
Fifth, focus on giving more use value than you receive in cash value. Create win-wins. Give that impression of increase.
And finally, adopt that advancing person mindset. Radiate growth and possibility.
So, based on Wattles, what are some key things you might want to learn or reconsider?
Well, maybe fundamentally rethinking the nature of wealth and abundance itself.
Yeah, and really grasping the power of your own thoughts and focus. Where are you directing your mental energy consistently?
Recognizing gratitude not just as like a polite thank you, but as a real creative force.
And questioning the limits of purely competitive thinking, which often comes from that underlying belief in lack.
Okay, and conversely, what should you actively avoid, according to Wattles?
Definitely avoid dwelling on poverty, lack, limitation in your thoughts, your conversations.
Don't try to use willpower to control other people. That's a big one.
Absolutely. Avoid engaging with pessimistic or conflicting ideas that might shake your faith or muddy your vision.
And don't separate the mental work from the physical action. They have to be integrated.
Yeah, you can't just visualize and do nothing or act mindlessly without the vision and faith.
So the clear-cut action plan to put this into practice, starting today, is basically study these principles, apply them daily, start right now by forming that clear mental image.
And cultivating that feeling of gratitude now for what you desire, as if it's already here.
This deep dive really offers a lot to consider, doesn't it?
It certainly does. We really encourage you, the listener, to reflect on these ideas. Does this concept of a thinking substance resonate with you at all?
Yeah, how might applying these principles, focused thought, unwavering faith, deep gratitude, how might that shift your perspective on abundance and your ability to create it?
It's definitely a framework that invites you to take a much more active, conscious role in shaping your own reality.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating exploration of the science of getting rich.
We truly appreciate you tuning in and diving into these ideas with us.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights, maybe some surprising ones, and definitely plenty to ponder.
We encourage you to revisit these principles, maybe even check out Wattles' original book yourself. See what resonates most with you.
What questions has this sparked? Keep reflecting on these concepts in your own life.
Absolutely. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring the possibilities.